An FDA panel will meet today to discuss the ethics of growing human babies in artificial wombs after success in animals. And I feel that this is an inevitability. I watched a movie recently about a woman who has a pod baby. In this movie, it actually wasn't very good. Like, it had no story. The general story, I guess, was, if it had one, you could call it that. This woman she's working, and so she doesn't want to get pregnant herself. She signs up for this company where they're like, well, she works for this company. They sign her up for this program where it says, look, you want to have a baby, but we don't want you to leave work. So we're going to put your baby in this egg pod that will grow artificially for you. It's a creepy film. It has no real ending, so it kind of sucked. But one of the concepts, spoiler alert, I guess, is that the babies can't dream. And you think the story's going somewhere, but it doesn't. Ultimately, it's just kind of a window into this life of people who choose to grow their babies in artificial wombs, and it is nightmarish and dystopian. I want to give a quick shout out to this short film, Capital of Conformity, on YouTube by Aze Avora. It was shared with me by Ian. Ian said it was shared to him by someone else, and I tweeted it out because it's absolutely incredible. It's a retro-futurist AI-generated view of the nightmare dystopia. And considering it was AI generated, I really do recommend checking out this video. I'll put the link in the description below. Seriously, check it out. Shout out to, I think it's pronounced Aze Avora. It's really good. And I've watched it like 5 times because it's so freaky. It's gross and it's trippy. But when I see a story like this, I can't help but be reminded of that video. And I think maybe they missed this. In this short film, they talk about the nightmare dystopia of instant gratification. And I wonder if there could be a component or perhaps another view like this of a world in which babies are grown in boxes. Here's the story from the Daily Mail. A panel of government health advisors will meet today to discuss the ethics of growing babies in artificial wombs. The technology has successfully developed several animals in recent years, prompting the FDA to consider whether it should be trialed in humans. Many experts believe it could be a game changer if used to mimic the conditions of a womb and help treat health complications in a growing number of premature babies in the U.S. Fair point. Before the advance can be used in humans, researchers will have to show that the device helps infants grow and develop with lower chances of health issues than with existing technology. I can say a lot of bad things about this. There are some good things to be said. First, let's read what they say. The Pediatric Advisory Committee, an independent panel of health experts, are meeting today and Wednesday via teleconference. Though the 2-day meeting will help guide the agency, the FDA will make its own decisions and is not required to follow the advisor's guidance. At this stage, artificial wombs aren't designed to grow a baby from scratch, although advances in the field have led some to believe that is on the horizon. I also want to point out recent news that they created a human embryo or zygote, from genetic material, not a sperm or an egg. It's getting creepy out there. There are a lot of very terrifying implications for what this means. There are some good ones. Give me a second. They say at this stage, artificial wombs aren't designed to grow a baby from scratch. Instead, they would be used to care for the 1 in 100 infants born before 28 weeks gestation, which is considered extremely preterm. It could also combat the infant mortality rate in the U.S., which experts have warned is so much higher than in other developed nations. Unlike conventional incubators in the neonatal intensive care unit, NICU, this technique uses an extrauterine support device, which mimics the conditions of a real womb. The infant's heart circulates blood through the umbilical cord into a machine that takes the place of the mother's placenta. Synthetic amniotic fluid enriched with nutrients flow into and out of the temperature-controlled near-sterile biobag. The aim is to provide an environment in which a tiny premature babies can safely develop their lungs and other organs during the critical period from 23 to 28 weeks after conception. All right, let's talk about this. The positives. Positives are that we dramatically reduce abortion. With this technology, it stands to reason laws could be passed preventing abortion. Now, hold on there. I don't mean to say that women won't be able to terminate their pregnancies. They would still be able to terminate their pregnancies. They would just not be able to terminate the life of the child. With this technology, babies after around 23 weeks, you can't abort. And we're talking about 4 months, a little bit shy of. You would abort the pregnancy, but you would not abort the baby. It would create this distinction, which is really interesting. And if this technology persists and develops to the point where you can actually incubate a baby from the point of conception into a full-grown human, as much as we can say there are horrifying capitalistic implications here, it would save the lives of these children if mothers sought to terminate. Now, there's the negative. It would actually increase the likelihood of pregnancies being terminated because now there's no risk to the baby's health. Women would then, many, choose to have artificial biobag babies instead of biological babies. And there are damaging repercussions to this. How we navigate this morality, man, I don't have the answers, but I can only present to you some complications. First, babies in the womb. I think most women will tell you this. I'm a dude. I've never been pregnant and can't become pregnant. But what I hear from many women, mothers, is that baby talks to you. Baby tells you stuff. I don't mean literally speak in English. You know, women get cravings, and we actually had a mother on the show recently on Culture War talking about how there's absolutely a communication between the needs of the baby in the womb and the mother, and there's antibodies and other benefits that the mother provides. That connection is extremely important. Hence, in that movie, they said babies born in boxes can't dream. I don't know if that's going to be true, but it's creepy nonetheless. If you grow a baby outside the womb, it's not going to get the actual biological connection, the antibodies, the immunity the mother conveys to it during pregnancy. I think there will be horrible complications and unforeseen consequences in bag babies. That's scary. Here's the ideal scenario. People don't get abortions, right? There are certain circumstances where we would argue a terminated pregnancy is not an abortion. And what that is talking with Seamus Coughlin, for instance, the Freedom Tunes, who's staunchly pro-life, if the baby is not viable and can't survive, it's not an abortion. Technically, it could be, but let's just be clear for the purpose of argument. For this video's purpose, I will say abortion is intentionally terminating the life of the baby, a baby that could survive. That is wrong, and that should not be. There will be circumstances where the baby cannot survive, and so the pregnancy is terminated for the health of the mother or otherwise. The challenge here is, what if you're wrong? Don't know. There have been several stories, and I'm sure you've heard them, where a woman was told the baby was not viable and would not survive, and she says, well, I'm not terminating. And the baby was born healthy and grows up. We don't want those people to lose their lives. With this technology, if there is an insistence among the medical staff that in their best estimation, the baby cannot survive, the best news is, well, you can put the baby in an artificial womb. The pregnancy can be terminated for the health of the mother, and the baby can be given an opportunity to thrive. In the instance that a baby is premature, you save the baby. In the instance that a woman says there was a cause of rape or incest, and by incest we mean like by force on an individual, so just instances of rape to be completely clear, the woman says, I did not consent to carry this person. There's a 14th Amendment violation to my rights. I will not provide my body. We say, okay, compromise. The baby will not be harmed. It will be raised outside of the womb. I know a lot of people, pro-lifers, have the strong argument that even if the mother is raped, the woman, that she must carry the baby. It's her duty. I believe that that's a constitutional and human rights violation. I believe if a woman did not consent, then she does not have the obligation to provide her body to anyone else. And then people argue, but it kills an innocent baby. It doesn't matter if you're innocent or not. You cannot place someone on someone else's body and then expect that to be legally upheld. I just don't see that. And it's a moral question. You may have differing morals than me. I believe that these biobags may provide an opportunity in these circumstances where you can say, okay, well, there's a constitutional question of rights. So when the pro-abortion activists come and say, abort the baby, you can say, no. The baby can come to full term with the use of an artificial womb to save it. In this case, it may end the termination of the life of the child. The women will argue, well, we can terminate the pregnancy, and then you can argue back, well, we can keep the baby alive. And if the argument is, if the baby is viable and can survive, then you can't terminate it, then these things create an opportunity in which every circumstance is the baby can survive. Now, transplantation of an embryo, fetus, or otherwise into the bag is a question that I'm sure that they will entertain. But the real scary thing here is not potential benefits in preventing abortion and saving the life of children. That's there, to be fair. The scary thing is that women will just not have babies. Yeah. I know a lot of transhumanist progressive women are probably cheering for this. They don't want to be baby machines. But the scary thought is that humans need that connection to their mother. I believe it's an essential component of human life. And they would strip that away. There's something deeply immoral and horrifying. And it's not so much a question of morality, although I do think a moral question exists. It's a question of science. What does the baby gain from the mother that cannot be artificially transplanted? There are questions around whether or not a baby should be on breast milk or formula. Breast milk tends to be better. It has antibodies. Formula is needed for babies. Babies can't survive without proper food. They can't just eat steak. Babies getting off of liquid diets and into solid diets, it takes time. It's part of a human development. And so back in the day, if a woman couldn't produce milk, there'd be a wet nurse, another woman who was lactating who would provide for the baby. Now we have formula, which works, but I'm not a big fan of these kind of artificial substitutes. So I think the artificial wombs ultimately, I think they'll be a net negative in the long run. I think they'll provide us with positives, but this stuff is dystopian and terrifying. But I'll leave it there, man. I will recommend that you check out Capital of Conformity. It's creepy, it's kind of gross, but it is really well done. You want to talk about AI nightmare dystopia? Check out this short film. I'll link in this description. I tweeted it out as well. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.